is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 236. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. He's sitting here on a Sunday, beautiful Austin, Texas, coming off of a 2-0 loss up there in the Pacific Northwest. It was a late one here in the Central Time Zone. So how you feeling, my friend?
Oh, man, disappointed. I thought we had a real opportunity with the way things had lined up for this game and going into this matchup with a good Seattle team that I really respect. And I thought we just missed an opportunity to get something out of that. And it was a rough night all around for a lot of guys. I thought a lot of guys struggled last night. I thought that we looked really toothless and only had some moments, some flashes where you kind of see some life from this team last night. So that was a disappointing match in my eyes. And you got to bounce back from it now. You got a tough matchup versus LAFC coming up. So it's on to that. But, man, that was a bummer.
Yeah, man. I mean, that LAFC match kicks off another 2.5 week stretch of, I think 2 straight double game weeks. Obviously, the Open Cup quarterfinal is in there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about all that when we get there. And I don't know if I feel like, I guess I'm just with you in terms of it's a disappointing result. Yeah. I don't think I'm mad about anything that happened last night. There's certainly things I want to critique as we break down this or recap this match rather. But I've certainly come away from Austin FC matches, more upset and more distraught than last night. But we'll recap that match, talk about what went wrong, maybe a couple positives that we found in and along the way as well. We've got last business day and some nonsense at the end. So before we get into the rest of episode 236 of the North End Podcast, just want to, as always, remind you, whether you're listening on the audio version or watching on the YouTube channel, that you can support the show financially by downloading the audio version of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. And, if it's Apple, Spotify, wherever, you can toggle on auto downloads, and that will support the show financially going forward, and you won't have to think about it again. You go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. It does help us grow the show. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 236, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords by atoning for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. On Wednesday's midweek episode, we, spliced in our all-star reaction there at the top of the episode. And while that was the I'm Right podcast for a couple of minutes, it was the I'm Wrong podcast at a couple other places along the way. So I wanted to correct John Kolmanich. I had not updated the sheets yet on the northendpodcast.com for his second extension that he signed back, I believe, in late January. So Kolmanich not expiring this year. His contract is guaranteed through the end of the 2026 season. So the sheets now reflect that. Just wanted to correct that. And then also wrong about Julio Cascante. He was available on the bench, not even on the injury report. And then on the other side, we had overlooked that Kim Keehee still had that calf issue flaring up. So there was only one healthy center back for Seattle as we entered this match. And of course, Nuhu was out as well. So I felt even better about our ability to imbalance their back line with, some of their backups there. Alex Roldan playing center back for this Sounders team. I think I've almost called them the Seahawks 3 or 4 times in the last 24 hours. But so just wanted to talk about that as we get into this, because then there's even more surprises on the injury report. Not like pleasant surprise that Julio is available, but Mirtu Azuni pops up with the Q tag hamstring. And when you saw that pop up, I was thinking maybe he's available off the bench. I thought, he's definitely not going to start now. And then the lineup drops, and Osman Bukari is not starting either. So I guess we can get into the whole lineup here, but starting with the 2 DPs, I just would have had a completely different tune to my expectations for this match if I knew that not just one, but 2 of our 3 DPs wouldn't be able to start this match. That was the beginning of the disappointment and completely changed the vibes for me once the lineup dropped.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you and I had been chatting all week about how good we were feeling about this. I know you went on to, what was the name of that other pod you
Yeah,
jumped
our,
on
our
there?
buddies over there at the Double Chance podcast is Tim and Nate had me on over there. So and the bets did not go well.
Yeah, you're over there touting us.
Betting Mir2 goal props and everything.
You show up over here yesterday, and I had just read your bets article, and it was like plus 400 for in here. Like I was just like, man, like I felt even better about this because like everyone at this point. And like you said, with all the Seattle injuries, with the red cards to Nuhu and Bell there and everything, and Keehee not being available, and I was like, yes, and like it kept building for me, And then you're like, Azuni's questionable, and I was just like, what? And then we get the starting lineup, and Buka's not in, and I'm just like, okay, now I have no baseline to feel good about this game anymore because, of course, we know we're a different team when those two dudes are on the field, and like. You had some insight that I was not privy to about those guys getting like some extended time with their family, which I get. I totally understand that. I wasn't aware of it, but to see both of them, one inactive and the other coming off the bench, it was just like, man, I just didn't feel like we were going for this game at this point. You know what I mean? Like I just did not think we were gunning for it.
Yeah, and so like going back to what Coach said following the victory against New York Red Bulls 2 weeks ago, he did mention that both Mir2 Azuni and Osman Bukari would have an extended break from the team because going back overseas, seeing their family, their young children that they've been away from, all that stuff. And I think we may have mentioned that, even if we didn't. I did not hear him allude to the fact that that extended break for them would affect their availability for this match. I think I saw our buddy Moises from Verde All Day say something here on Sunday morning, kind of pointing to the idea that Nico did say something to that effect 2 weeks ago. If he did, I missed it. And Nico does, in the post-match presser, confirm that Osman did not start because, more precautionary, the long travel, not having a full week of training. So to me, I kind of read that as like, could he have started and played 60, 70 minutes? Yes. But with the double game week coming up, the importance of the quarterfinal, right? The importance you think that the club is placing on that match next week. And he also clarified that his Zuni hamstring soreness, he said it was more precautionary. So I kind of read it as well, whereas like, if this is the playoffs, I think Azuni is playing, maybe not starting depending on how tight that hammy was, but he kind of said it was more precautionary and that he has a good shot to be available against LAFC. I will get more clarification, I'm sure, on Thursday during media availability on if Mir2 is going to be available or not for starting minutes or not. And again, I'm going to trust the high performance team like we always do with those types of decisions. Doesn't make it any less frustrating. But again, ultimately, either of those guys going out there, and I think you can lump like Robbie Taylor, Mikel Dessler, or other guys that Coach Estevez was talking about post game. Just being cautious coming out of the break in this match where we have a very full schedule. From I think there's 5 games between the 5th and the 16th, or the 5th and the 19th, or something like that before the All-Star break. And losing any of those guys, of course the DPs, but a Dessler or even a Robbie Taylor for 4+ weeks is way worse than just taking it a little bit more easy, so to speak, here in this one and working our way back into things. Again, doesn't make me happy, but I guess I understand the rationale.
Yeah, I mean, caution, I guess, is the right term there, just with these guys. And I'm with you. I understand that. If we, play this game out, go full tilt, let Azuni play, he gets hurt, we're feeling a different type of way. Obviously, we can never know if that would happen or not. But like you said, it just really flipped the script on how I felt right before this game. And just
took the wind out of our sails.
And I was just like, shit.
Yeah.
And I was texting a couple other our buddies and everything, and we're talking about the game. I was like, I like the day of, waking up, like, it's game day. I'm excited. I was excited to see the game and everything, and texting a couple dudes. And it's like, I feel good about this, man. I feel like we're in a good spot. And then just boop. And then you have the Jesus goal right at half, and that was just like that was the shit topping on top of this entire not disaster, but disappointing effort and game.
Yeah. Maybe we need to pause and go look at the thesaurus. I think our disappointed counter is already up to 7 or 8 here. So somebody, like the South Park, the shit episode where they got the shit counter in the corner. We need a disappointment counter here on episode 236. Let's get into this one. The lineup was Stuver in net, Dessler, Schwarzak, Heinzek, and Biro on the back line as expected. Danny Pereira, Bessard, Savovich, John Gallagher, and Hader Obrian there in the midfield with Owen Wolf and BV up top in that 4-4-2 look defensively. On the bench, Bukari, Rubio, Taylor, Kolmanich, Dubersarski, Cleveland, Cascante, Ilie, and CJ Fodre made the trip, of course, with Julio back in and Mirtu missing. There's your, it's not a call up, but he's filling that 20th roster slot there. So any other comments for you on this lineup? Again, outside of the unexpected changes that happened between Wednesday's episode and kickoff, the rest of it to me was as expected.
Yep. I mean, we were only talking about the left wing really because we thought Buka was a full go and we thought Azuni was going to be ready to go. And we were discussing what we were going to expect from this lineup. And then everything else we thought just slotted right into place. And once we got that news from those two guys, this is what I expected, I think.
Yeah. And so on the other side, man, right? Like, Reed Baker-Whiting starting on the left there. Alex Roldan paired at the center back position with Jackson Reagan. And then Kosa Rienzi, right? Yeah. Another one of their, he's a first teamer, but like one of the guys that's, more on the fringes of their roster, certainly a depth piece starting on the right. So even with that back line, I'm still sitting there like, okay, like we should be competitive in this match. And like, I think I can make a decent argument that they were competitive, but certainly not on the front foot here. Because when we get into it, my first note is in the 7th minute, and it starts mostly Seattle controlling the tempo early on. But in this moment, in the 7th minute, this is where Hader Obrian steps in front of a wayward Sounders pass just inside the Austin half. And the break is on. Like, it's not an overwhelming advantage here. It was like kind of a 4-on-4 here in transition. Obrian's got Owen Wolf and John Gallagher to his left and Brandon Vasquez overlapping him to his right. He charges forward kind of in that right channel over midfield. And he's got multiple chances as he's dribbling the ball going forward. At least 2 moments here on this break where he can either lay it off to Owen or just kind of home run cross to Gallagher out on the left wing and really try to open up some space for him. Instead, he keeps the ball on his foot, and Christian Roldan comes in and just calmly slide tackles it cleanly off him. And we know this about the Roldan brothers, right? How good they are. But last night, I think it was on display once again in the long career of these guys with Seattle. Like, they're not flashy. You're not going to hear their name a ton and see them on the highlights game in, game out. But, like, if you watch the full 90, they're fucking everywhere, and they're so slick with it and tactically sound. And the timing on this tackle, again, like Hader's sitting there like, foul, and there's just nothing in it, man. It was a great tackle. But I say all of that to say this. I'm getting very frustrated as a fan with Hader Obrian because I feel like in some of these moments, his decision-making, and we've gotten on guys who are playing above him on the depth chart. We've gotten on guys throughout the season. And I think it is, I gave him a little bit of the business verbally after the Red Bulls match because I thought Mirtu should have had a goal and Hader should have had an assist. But this is just another situation where the decision-making comes back to bite him. I don't understand why you're not getting that ball off your foot. Give it to 33, man. He's been pretty damn good this year, Hader.
Yeah, get it centrally and let's see what the options are after that. I mean, the only reason it's kind of unfair to Hader is because he just has fewer of these opportunities. Sure. So, like, when it sticks out like this and it's just like, yeah, well, this is 2 games in a row for you, man. And, like, he's clearly pressing. He wants to score.
That's what I was going to ask you.
He really is pressing. He wants to score. We know he enjoys scoring and having a good time and celebrating and doing all of that. So, like, he's pressing and it's affecting his decision-making. And we talked about it being somewhat infectious.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, there we go.
I'm in your head now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you rattled me. You rattled me.
What did you say last time?
Initiated.
It was something crazy.
I definitely said that. I was like, oh, damn, I hear Zach in my head. So it's carrying on right now. You know what I mean? And like Hot Air is going to have less opportunities than Buka and Azuni and guys that we have gotten on in these same type of situations. But this is just an easy play, man. Get it to the central part of the pitch and let's just see what opens up for us. And like you said about the Roldan brothers, man, just professionals. And again, they just impact the game in so many ways that is just huge and momentum shifting. And this is one of the plays right here.
Well, it also made me think, like, if Bukari is on the ball right there, like,
yeah,
I don't think I can say that I can't say with certainty that he's going to make the right pass in that moment. But you know what I can say with certainty? Christian Roldan ain't catching that little guy.
No.
So, like, there's just so many benefits of having him out there over anybody. But I just think you see the clear distinction between he and Hot Air over the last two, 3 games here.
Mm-hmm.
Couple minutes later here in the 11th, you've got Reed Baker Whiting, who plays a good ball over the top to Danny Masovsky, who's in behind on Svatok. Biro is the one who keeps him on side here, and I'm sorry, E. We're going to have to dump on number 29 a little bit here today, because I think this may be Guilherme Biro's worst game in an Austin uniform. At least from my point of view. And we love Biro here in the North End, right? So maybe we're a little biased, but he was a negative last night, ultimately, when it comes to the result.
This was his worst performance by a wide margin, in my opinion. He was lost all night. He was not locked in, and it distinctly hurt.
It almost put him on. I mean, this would have been going all over the internet. So like Svatok catches up to Masovsky here about 12 yards from net. We're inside the Austin penalty area here on the left, and he holds up play, takes 2 touches, trying to back Svatok up towards his own goal, and then darts towards the end line. He fires a shot, it pings off that near post, and back out towards the top of the 6, where Guilherme Biro tries to clear it, and he pings it off that same post and back to Dessler, and Dessler's able to clear it out then, but I was joking to you in the moment. Look, Guilherme, he was passing to Dessler. Just off the post.
Yeah. It's like indoor when you play it off the side there.
I mean, this is the closest thing we've seen to Amro Tarek.
Yeah, no, that would have been an absolute Amro Tarek level goal, own goal. It was, I mean, poor Brad. He's just like bink and then just bink, and I was just like, oh shit, dude. Yeah, man, Biro was terrible last night, and like, I love you, Guilherme. I don't think you listen to the podcast. I'll always love you, but this was his worst game. He was terrible, man, and like, Masovsky's he's really come on, man. He's been playing well lately. And like, he was a threat all night long. And like you said, initially Biro keeps him on, and it's like, brother. So you get fortunate here, but didn't last too long.
So jumping ahead here to the 34th minute, it's still Seattle controlling the game. But I will give Austin credit, at least through the first 35 minutes or so of the first half. Like, they were not conceding quality chances to Seattle, even though Seattle was kind of doing exactly what they want to do, mid to high 50s in possession, keeping it out in our end and trying to imbalance our back line. And they weren't able to generate high quality chances. In this moment, they're playing it out of the back, though, on a goal kick. This was like right after the little bit of a break where Hot Air kind of fell into the boards and stayed down for almost a minute, pops back up. And so they're playing it out of the back. I think it was Roldan here. May have been Reagan, but Wolf gets a deflection off this pass at the top of the 18. And Danny gets onto it and lays it off to BV. Danny gets fouled as he makes that pass. He goes down. BV turns on Jackson Reagan, fires a shot with his right foot. Unfortunately, that goes right at Stefan Fry. And even more unfortunately, that's our only shot on target of the night. I don't hate the shot. I don't know what you're supposed to do here I guess you just stop playing to initiate the fact, because the advantage was given by the official. And the way Brandon's been performing with the free kicks, I would rather have this free kick from the top of the box than him back to goal trying to turn on it and put one past a guy like Fry with Jackson Reagan in front of him. Again, that is a very bang type of decision. So I don't think any coach is probably saying that's what you should do there. But I thought about it in the moment, and then on the rewatch this morning too, man, it's just like, that has been one of our better options for goal scoring over the last month, is giving it to Brandon, but like 20 to 30 yards out on a free kick.
That's a really good point. I did not think about that because yes, that's definitely a foul. We did play advantage here. I mean, the shot's fine. It was a it was a weird way to go about getting it off, in my opinion. Like you turn your back all the way from goal, spin around, and let this thing rip. But it still started with the fact that we just kind of looked again indecisive in that final third, and just like, who are we playing this ball to? Who is going to make a play for us here? And like, it's just kind of like, it was almost like a hot potato thing. I was like, no, you take it. Let's see what you can do. So again, just some indecision there by the guys. And we weren't on our shit last night. You know, it's one thing to be without Buka. It's one thing to be without Azuni. But like, we were just not locked in and focused on this game last night. And it really showed with a lot of guys, in my opinion, last night.
Yeah. I don't know if I would put it on like the focus, but something was off, right? There was not the same energy, not the same cohesion to the eye test as there was when we saw this team finishing off Red Bulls at home 2 weeks ago. 41st minute here. This is where like Seattle really starts to bend that Austin defense. As the half is winding down here, the chances, like the ball is getting into more dangerous spots than it had throughout the beginning, or the first 45 rather. And in this moment, Kosarienzi plays a nice little give and go with Christian Roldan on the right, gets to the end line past Gallagher and puts a ball across the face of net before Biro can close him down. Stuver gets a mitt to it to paw it away. And that was a huge, I don't think they credited this with a shot on target, but that was a huge deflection by Stuver there to push that away, because Masasi has a tap in on the back post. So again, I think Biro struggling a little bit there. I think he should have been quicker to have Johnny's back. And again, Stuver bailing us out.
Yeah, and there's a couple plays here where Stuver's just kind of in the right place at the right time and is able to get a mitt on some of these balls that this easily could have started earlier than when they get their first goal, and also could have gotten a bit uglier later in this game when they have some more chances. But like you said, this is their style of play, and like, this is how Schmetzer has these guys lined up. They're going to go ahead and possess the ball, and they're going to wait for you to break. And like, we gave them plenty of opportunities where we broke last night, and a lot of those were on Guilherme Biro. And I thought he and Johnny, for the synergy and everything that we had seen between those two for the since John has moved into the starting lineup, was really just gone, which again points to just like something was weird last night with all of these guys.
Well, and that's something I didn't have in my notes, but I think is well worth bringing up, that diving deeper into the Guilherme and Gallagher pairing there on that left side, specifically offensively, there was at least 2 times where I think one was on Biro, one was on Gallagher, if I had to put the blame pie down on those 2 plays, where they're both trying to be the wide man.
Yeah.
And whether you're on the ball or not, there has to be communication there. And there probably doesn't even need to be that much communication. You should know the roles based on where the ball is and how it's matriculating up the field. And those guys just kind of, again, stepping on each other's toes, so to speak, at times last night. And like, while John being over there has provided more danger and more of an offensive threat going forward, right? We're still making our hay over there on that right side.
Yeah.
And you can also, like, we'll get into that in the second half, just the difference when you put the fucking starter on over there. But no matter who's over there on the left, if it's Mirtu getting back in there next week, if Robert Taylor's ready, like, you want to see it be a little bit more crisp in and out of possession on the left side.
Absolutely. This was the match that it really started to like not look the way that we want it to look over there. And also, no more armband for Stuver, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want it anymore. I you know what I mean? There's multiple times in this game, you know, Danny gets into it with Rothrock. I thought the officiating, while it didn't, I mean, I feel like it probably does impact this game at the end of this first half. But like, we need a guy out there who is able to go speak to the ref and represent the team. And like, this is not an indictment on Stuver that I don't want him to be a leader or the captain of this team, but he can't run out to the middle of the fucking pitch and have our back in those type of situations. So I think it just compounded things.
So coach actually taught me something. So by proxy, I'm going to teach you something here. Oh. Apparently, when your goalkeeper has the armband, there is a field player designated to be able to talk to the official, and it's Brendan Heinzike. So whether or not Brendan Hines, he said it's Heinzike when he's out there. If Ilie's out there, it will be Ilie when Brad has the armband. So that is.
Why isn't BHI just the captain then?
That's a good. He didn't teach me that.
Okay.
The 45th minute here. Danny and Paul Rothrock get into it off the ball. It looked like first Danny gives Rothrock a shoulder check and maybe like shoulder check to the chest. Like it was pretty physical. But Rothrock then comes and just throws Danny down. And then they come together again where Rothrock initiates contact, but Danny kind of lower center of gravity, like just kind of chucks him and moves him back like a foot or two. And then Rothrock decides, oh, now I'm going to flop down to the ground. Yeah. So that was a pretty pathetic flop attempt by Rothrock there, but that stops the match. I thought this was a good piece of officiating to give neither guy a caution here. Like, of course, it's either both guys getting one or neither, but I thought this was I thought it was a good bit of officiating to try to keep things calm without going to your pocket and putting both guys on a caution. Just like, chill the fuck out, guys. Like it's, just take a breath. We're going to the half here in a minute. But this is where I do have a problem with the officiating. And again, this is far from the most egregious thing. And I am very biased in this situation, but we get 1 minute of stoppage and Stuver is taking a free kick from our own half with 46:11 on the clock. So we are over the 1 minute given. And no whistle as the free kick is booted and comes down in the Sounders half. And Seattle comes up with that ball. They take a foul. Advantage is played. The ball's loose. Sabo goes down. I don't think there was anything in that, but he's trying to get a foul. And so Seattle all of a sudden is off on like a 5-on-5 break here. And Rothrock's got the ball on the left. He's got Dessler isolated and is able to get across towards the back post where Jesus Ferreira is all alone. And credit to Ferreira for the pinpoint, just blasting this into the net. We also have to say in the moment, this is horrendous defense by Guilherme Biro. Completely loses. Jesus just stops paying attention to him as the ball comes in. And so that's one thing.
Yep.
And then the other thing, there's two other things that I want to talk about after Biro is the stoppage time management. I understand that the game was stopped in the 45th minute to figure out the dust up between those two young players. But I've seen so many times things like that happen, especially at Q2 when we're in person, whether it's no stoppage time, 1, 2, 3 minutes, you go 15 seconds over. It doesn't really, it's like what happens after that gets added on. And like, even then, sometimes it feels like the officials don't pay attention to it. Like if we are letting this play out when we're 15 seconds over the 1 minute of stoppage, and I think you could have made an argument for no stoppage time in the first half. Because the stoppage between Danny and Rothrock, the 1 minute is already decided by them. So we're not, I don't know, man. Again, like I know this can come off a little whiny because I'm an Austin fan and it punishes us in that moment. And it was far from the worst, I think, final whistle being blown last night around the league. The Red Bulls and Minnesota match there. But I thought, and you see it in the guys too, Ian. Half the team stops on the free kick because and that it's not an excuse for them. You got to play to the whistle. But that gives me a little bit more like I feel like kicking my ass to talk about this where it's like we're assuming the half is ending because typically that's what happens. So I don't understand that. And this even less so. This is maybe even more Austin fan bitchy here, but like on the freeze frame, and shout out to our boy Logan for the screenshot here. The offside guy is right in Stuver's sight line. Now, I don't think Stuver is keeping this out of the net, but I think we've also seen plays like this get called for offside. So I don't know. This is, again, 3 different points. Biro, the head official, and then a potential offside here. And I think that is the order in terms of like who's at fault here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the things that we can control. Right? Like we can control Biro on this defensive action here. Like he was awful. This was inexcusable. We'll talk about the fact that players had kind of stopped and like we have control over that. You play until the whistle goes. And like, it is not an excuse that I also agree with you that there's been, every time in the first half, it just feels like it's blown
Quick
dead.
whistle.
It's very quick. And everyone's just like, yeah, it's the first half. That's how that goes. Like we just move on and go to the second half. And like, this is just such an absolute dick kick right here. Like this is just because like as toothless as we were, as non-threatening as we were, with the only shot on target coming from BV, which was just a routine play for Stephen Fry there in net, you were going to get out of this half 0-0. You were going to get out of there. And like that was, in my opinion, that was definitely part of the game plan. Like we were not really pressing up. We were going to be content with a 0-0 going into halftime. You get Buka on shortly after that, and you see what happens. Like I said, when I threw out my prediction, I would have been fine with a 1-1 draw here. Like as good as I was feeling in the moment, I understand the scope of playing up in Seattle. I understand the talent of their team and how they were regimented and everything like that. But like you were going to get to half 0-0. And for this to come, I mean, when this goal comes at what, like 46-50?
It was a little earlier than that, like 46 and a half, something like that.
It's still, and still.
It doesn't feel good.
Nope. And it also just does not excuse Guilherme for just completely getting sucked in on this play and not really marking his man. So, and once this came, I just felt like that just felt like from the initial start where it was just like, oh shit, everything has changed. No Buka, no Azuni, to seeing how we looked and being like, oh shit, something's weird right now. Like we're not firing on all cylinders. To this, I was like, that might be game, and it felt like one of those games in May where it was like you just got scored on and you're done.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, because it's such, again, I think goals change games, whatever. But I had stood up and went to the kitchen before the free kick is taken because I assumed the whistle would blow. I come back, the free kick's landing, and then just standing there like helpless, like fuck, man. Like, because 0-0 again, like it wasn't good.
No,
but I think mission accomplished in the sense of like we kept them off the board, and now we have the guy who has been our most threatening, I would say the key to our chances over the last month plus has been the play of Osman Bukari on the right. And now you're down, and it's way easier for them, not up 1, but up 2 here in a few minutes. Like it's way easier for them to just sit back and condense against any type of line stretching play that we thought we could get off. But we could have initiated some of those chances, I think, if you keep it 0-0 once you bring on some of those fresh legs.
Yep, absolutely. And like you said before we jumped on here, Buka is the engine on that offensive side who's able to break lines and then create opportunities for us. And like you saw it on full display that we were not able to do that when he was not on the pitch. And then he comes on and a valiant type of effort where we kind of turn things around, but like it didn't result in anything, but you still see the difference. But like I said, to me, it just felt like this game was over right then and there because that was just such a demoralizing kind of goal, especially coming from Jesus. I mean, it's not as important to some of the Austin guys who are new here and everything for this team, but like that guy's always kicked our ass, man. Like he's partied in front of our faces at Q2.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the mullet hurts. And like speaking of him at Q2, man, he still hasn't played since he held up his jersey. So we didn't forget that, Jesus. Come on, we got it circled in September. Better be suiting up. So no changes at the half here, and in the 53rd minute, you get a yellow card to Besard Savovich for just kicking the absolute shit out of Christian Roldan's shin right there. And a minute later, you get Danny Masovsky sprung free in a 1-on-1 against Alexander Svatok at the back after Jesus just plays a great through ball right to his foot. I think we were talking about pre-match, right? Like what we would give up to have Jesus Ferreira as one of our attacking midfielders right about now, especially on the TAM deal. I think we disagree here. I think Alexander Svatok does a very good job to push Danny Masovsky to the right and away from net. And I'm giving Danny Masovsky a ton of credit to take this shot back across his body towards the far post to the only spot where this could go in. And even then, the ball rolls and pings off the post and in. So I'm not saying that Svatok did it perfect, because I think your perfect defense there, you probably take it off him. But I thought it was fine. The defense was fine, and I thought it was just better offense in that moment. Regardless, 2-0, and now you're really thinking this game is over.
Yeah.
But again, I know you may have some different thoughts there.
Look, I feel like with your contingency of soccer lawyers that you've brought into this conversation beforehand, I have been swayed to say that it was fine defense. You know what I mean? And like you said, yes, it's very much a nice shot. It's better offense in that situation. And sometimes that's just how it be. You got to tip your hat to the offensive player. It's a great shot. Nothing Brad could do with it. But yeah, the initial ball from Jesus is really what makes this play kind of special happen, because that ball broke so many of our defenders to get through to him, and it's just right on target. He can just walk just on stride, rolling into it. So tough, man. And yes, this is the the period at the end of the sentence for 3 points for Seattle here.
Yeah. Well, and I again, like, I don't know if Svatok, like, in a better moment, or if there's a more talented defender in that spot, can step earlier and maybe dislodge that ball or put him off his line a little bit earlier. But that's just how I kind of took it in the moment. And like you said, I consulted some law firms there. So 56th minute, you finally get Osman Bukari in for Hader Obrian. And we also get a yellow card to Svatok for grabbing a Seattle player on a break. And you instantly see the impact that Osman has. 58th minute, it's maybe his first, like the first Austin offensive possession since he was subbed on, but Buka and Dessler immediately combine down that right side. Buka plays Mikel through to the end line. Dessler's cross gets blocked right back out to Buka, who makes a one-on-one move and drives to the end line himself. He puts in a cross. That service is rejected right back out to Dessler, who had gotten back in bounds. And then Mikel puts a cross towards the back post, but there's nobody home. I'm taking it as a big positive. And again, maybe I'm just huffing the hopium here, or the copium in defeat. But I'm taking it as a big positive that we get that threat down the right side instantaneously when these two guys play together. And I also think that with more time, the potential Obrian-Dessler connection whenever those guys need to play on that right side will develop. I believe that is the first time those two guys have played extended minutes together and certainly started together. Because you think last year, right, it was a lot of Buka and Dessler, and then both those guys go out at the end of the year, Dessler for a little bit longer. And Dessler's missed so many games this year. He's been starting with Buka over the last however many games, since he came back. But I also think, in me trying to find positives there, that there are two negatives. One in the game state that, like I mentioned earlier, now you're down 2. Now they can just pack the paint there. So you're interjecting basketball terms. But like, there's so many guys on the strong side of the box here that the crosses on the ground they're not going to work. They're not going to get through. And you saw it with 3 straight crosses just rebuffed right out of there. And then the other negative is some of it could improve with the chemistry on those two on the right side. But right side, left side, we don't have the depth like we hoped we did just looking at names on paper. Gallagher, Taylor, Obrian have not been able to generate enough from those wing positions. And again, Taylor's been minimal minutes. But I'm lumping him in here all the same because behind those 2 DP starters, we haven't found anybody yet that has come in and been like, well, there's something we can point to in negative moments like we are in right now to say we know these guys can bring us X, Y, or Z. Still looking for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is that left side needs to get figured out for sure. From start to finish. You know what I mean? Like, because we're still
both sides. Like, Hader's got to be better. Whether we're up 2-1 against Red Bulls or down 1-0 against Seattle, he hasn't been good. Left side again. The depth is not performing on the offensive side of the ball up to, I think, what our standard should be. For the name value of those players, they're MLS. They are not bad players. Yeah,
I think that's a very fair assessment.
So you get Ryan Kent in for Danny Masovsky in the 61st minute, and this is where you really start to see the depth of the Sounders organization and their roster start to come through. Because if you think about it, they don't come in for another 15 minutes or so, dude. But like, we're sitting here like, oh, we only have one of our 3 DPs starting. Like, we can't generate much. Well, guess what? One of their 3 DPs was starting last night. 2 of them come off the bench later. And Ryan Kent, pretty good player in his own right. So 66th minute, we get a double change for Austin. Diego Rubio and Robert Taylor come in for Sabovich and Dessler, moving John Gallagher right back. Austin won a free kick here as Danny was taken down right before the subs are made. So after the subs are made, that kick is taken and played towards Biro on the left side of the 6-yard box. He nods it towards the middle. The BHI is right there. I think just with his positioning, maybe overran it a touch, maybe jumped a little bit early as well, but he just can't get on the right side of this ball, or really rather like get to this ball with the top of his noggin, right? He ends up sending it over, and I think right after he missed that, I think all of us we got to watch with the Pirates last night, and Debo and Jones and everybody else who was there. And we're just like, that was it, man. Like, if you pull that one back with some of the fresh legs we just got on, like, we can push for an equalizer here, but that one doesn't even go on frame. And it was not the easiest chance, but there were only a handful of chances last night, and nothing was quality.
Yeah, I mean, he's a center back. I'm not really expecting. It would have been a pretty spectacular take to go ahead and get up there and get that and put it past that Stephen Fry. So, like, yes, what could have been for sure. We would have had some life there because really there wasn't a whole lot to cheer for last night with what we were doing on out there on the pitch.
Like, the one time the ball hits Brendan in the head and it doesn't hit really hard, and like, because if it hits harder, maybe it goes in. I don't know. 76th minute here, you get Jordan Morris and Pedro de la Vega in for Jesus Ferreira and Paul Rothrock. You also get a yellow card to Reed Baker Whiting for an intentional handball on the near sideline to the broadcast camera. And a minute later, the final subs for Austin, Dubrasarski and Kolmanich come in for Owen Wolf and Guilherme Biro. 84th minute here. Now, Austin keeping possession more as Seattle's content to sit back and let the clock wind. Kolmanich gets some space on the left, and he whips a ball in. He's above the 18 here. He finds John Gallagher all alone at the back post. This is very similar to how Seattle scored their goal, although it's, much more set defense, not so much a transition opportunity. But John tries to volley this one back across the face of net to runners, and it gets blocked out for a corner. I said it last night. I think there was some dissension amongst our ranks on the replay. I stand strong in my stance. This should have been a shot. John, imbalanced back line, tough angle for sure. You got to put this one on net, man. There's 5 Seattle defenders in the box where you're putting this ball back to. I know it's a tight angle, but you got to make Stephen Fry make a play here. So I thought this was a poor decision on Johnny's part. Not, it's not game changing or anything, but I thought you should have taken your chance.
Yeah, no, this is a distinct memory from this second half where it was just like, yes, that would have been difficult, but given what was out there with almost an impossible feat to find somebody with this ball, it's not really, it's not really Johnny's game, but still, I do think you uncork this one and maybe try to get us a spill, something where we can run onto it. But all night long, kind of the same story. Wrong decision here, not being in the right spot here. It wasn't our night.
Yeah, there's nothing doing on that corner. Rubio gets a headed attempt. It skips off his noggin out for a goal kick. And then after the goal kick, you get Leyva and Joao Paulo. Again, the fucking depth, dude. Yeah. For Rusnak and Vargas. And then 89th minute, studs up tackle here. Not crazy aggressive, but like the follow through is definitely a yellow card here on Baker Whiting tackling Brandon. So second yellow, Baker Whiting sent off, and that gives you like, all right, if you can score one on like the next possession or two, maybe you make them sweat a bead or something like that. But 5 minutes given here in stoppage time. Joao Paulo gets a yellow card for time wasting, doing his best Diego Rubio impression. No real quality chances here, and the final whistle blows, man. 2-0 loss. Again, I will add one to the counter. Disappointing.
Hey, look, I got the thesaurus.com pulled up right here. So I will say I am balked at this match.
What?
Beaten, complaining, defeated, depressed, disconcerted. So take your pick there. Nothing too drastic, I don't think. It was a tough game, man. And like it just weird vibes all around. And it started early in the evening, right when you showed up. And like I was just like, whoa. Man, so I don't know. It was not our night. It was definitely not one of our better matches. We looked like a team who hadn't played in a while and had some guys who weren't in training and we weren't getting full practices and everything like that. It looked like that last night. So you're going to have to move on from it. They were the better team. Absolutely. And we got a lot of guys who just got to figure some things out for themselves. Like you talked about with your O'Brien little pitch there. He's got to figure some things out for sure. We got to figure some things on the left side of the pitch as well. We got to get Mirtu going. We still, despite the generation and everything that's coming from that right side, when Buka's in there with Dessler, we still got to score goals off of those things. Like we still got to see we're lowest. I mean, they threw it up on the broadcast last night, fewest goals in MLS. And we're all, get that shit out of here. Yeah. But it's true. Yeah, we're not scoring. So this is a tough game, man. And now LAFC is looming, in my opinion. And they're sitting on 16 games played, right? And they're 3 points ahead of us. So that's going to be a tall task. Just glad no injuries, I suppose. If there's one shining kind of thing to get out of there, no one got dinged up. We're not going to miss Dessler or anything like that. So you're going to have to brush yourself off and bounce back because this was an uninspired performance and one that just had a lot of plays and moments that you can look to and be like, what are you doing here, man? Where's your mind at right now? And a lot of those are on Guilherme. And coming off a team of the match week, I believe, right? Or the last time we played, this was his worst game. And that goal right before half really just kind of put a dagger in us, and they finished us off within 10 minutes in the second half there.
44% possession for Austin at the end of this one. 12 shots to 11 in favor of Seattle, but 6 on target to just 1 for the Sounders. No big chances created for Austin. 5 corners to 3 in favor of Austin FC. The XG today providing a shining example of why you don't take the XG from a small sample and make sweeping conclusions. Austin, 0.97 XG on FOTMob's model, 0.92 for Seattle. As we do have, it looks like here, as we can share this for the YouTube viewers and get a couple zooms. We got the recalc here. So 1.27 XG for Seattle now to 1 for Austin. So that does, I think make it a little bit more accurate there that they out XG'd us. But the story, as per usual, is more clearly told by the expected goals on target metric. 0.13 for Austin, 2.23 for Seattle. Anything else for you on this one? I have a couple takeaways and we can talk about what coach said, but anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think I got it all out there.
So some things that Nico Estevez said in the post-match, right? Like we talked about before we got into the recap. Azuni picked up the hamstring tightness late in the week, more of a precautionary absence. So I'm choosing to see the glass half full here and think he'll be available for LAFC next Saturday, even maybe in a reserve capacity. Bukari again did not start, confirmed because of coming back to the team later and just taking a more cautious approach with both of those guys, and he lumped in Dessler and Taylor as well. I did find it interesting. The team did have a full scrimmage on Wednesday, brought in officials and all of that stuff to try to get back in the swing of things. But he also mentioned the break kind of taking away their momentum. He said that Coach Schmetzer, the Sounders head coach, also mentioned that to him about, it kind of stinks that you guys had that break because you were finding some form. And that's fine, man. I get it. Sure. But that is not a crutch to lean on here. Because if you come out and play well, then the story is, Seattle had to play 3 Club World Cup games. You still got to come out there and show better than you did. It was not a good game.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I feel about that. It is not, and like you said, it would have been, Austin needed that rest if we came out and we looked really, really good here, and it's just, it really comes down to Buka and Azuni being away for more of an extended period of time than everyone else was. And I totally understand that. I get that. And it's just one of these aspects of being a fan of this league and of this sport that is involved here. People have their entire families in different countries, miles upon miles away. So I get it, but it is not an excuse to come out and look the way that we did last night and just look really disjointed. And I'm right there with you. If we had played well and this result was different, we would have all been saying, yeah, well, we caught Seattle at the right time. They just played three juggernauts of the game.
Yeah, looking at some of the statistical breakdowns here, right? I mean, 2 good XG chances for us, only 1 good XG chance for Seattle. Didn't feel like that. That's for sure. And you see the passing maps too here, right? Just like you don't have that extension, that threat going forward on the right side with Obrian getting the start there. And again, it's a 1-game sample, and I'm letting some of the the recency bias from the Red Bulls game creep in here, but
we're a different team when Ibuka's not starting. Period.
Yeah. It's like a team that is wild card at best, it feels like. And it does not feel good to be so dependent on the DPs. Because there's others that Seattle is not the only team. The good teams in the league are able to rotate 1-2 DPs out and still maintain their level, or at least a winning, truly competitive type of level. And it just doesn't seem like we're there yet.
I'm right there with you. It is not a great look to feel like we're just like, if you miss out on 2 guys, you're cooked. So
right. Yeah. And
yeah.
I guess there's just not much else to say.
No.
I want to see a bounce back performance against LAFC. And of course we will talk about that on Wednesday. But we know the quote unquote easy schedule that is coming after that. I would like to see the bounce back at home against a team that, again, we still hold in the highest regard in the West and league-wide, with LAFC coming to town. And it would just be great to see a win against those fuckers, because we expect to get wins against, the Galaxy and the Revs and the Dallas and Houston and San Jose, all these teams coming up that are either right around us or below us in the table. So we're just kind of running out of these games that are like prove it games. Because I feel like I feel so much more nervy and tight as a fan going into the games against the teams that we're like supposed to beat. And there's such a large string of those coming up that, like, you can see it's like breaking my brain a little bit to like, I'm putting more emphasis on this LAFC game, I think, in my head than there needs to be. And just trying to find the words for like, it was just like, it's so toothless last night, man. It's so, you saw me at the end of the game, just like,
you left, you got out there
ready to go to sleep.
I was like, damn, I thought something was wrong with you. Look, tag me in from the bullpen. I got you. Let me salvage these thoughts here. Just the way that we were like, you got to stamp some of these other wins that you had with another good performance in the upcoming game that has happened throughout the course of the season.
Yes.
You got to have a good performance versus LAFC to make me forget about this game and the fact that hopefully it was an outlier and an anomaly. And what
then you tie it together, right? With the 2 wins. You can have this game if you look more like the 2 previous games and you get rid of what we saw last night.
Exactly. And you'd still be sitting on, even with a draw versus LAFC, context required and everything in that matchup, you'd still be walking away with 7 points from those 4 games with some quality opponents mixed in there with Seattle and LAFC. So absolutely, you got to bounce back and have a good showing. You're not going to have that excuse on your plate now where it's like Azuni wasn't around, Buka wasn't around. These guys are back. They're in the fold. So yes, you got to respond with this LAFC matchup. This was a terrible performance for Austin as a whole last night, and you have to brush yourself off and move forward from it.
When you mentioned that when I showed up, you got a weird feeling last night. Are you sure it wasn't just like I showed up, we started playing darts, and you got a weird feeling?
Well, I won the 20 downs to start off everything.
Okay, so does that go on the scoreboard?
No,
you won the warm up. Bink, bink, bink. 3 ZG wins.
You're hot right now. You're hot right now. I'll give you that.
I would gladly transfer some of that heat to our favorite team.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day here on episode 236 of the North End podcast. And actually kind of tying together the post-match presser last night. Coach was asked a question or two about the academy in relation to seeing the Sounders year over year, bringing these backups in that are homegrown, supplementals, etc. And again, being able to hold close to their level. And if there was, it was a multifaceted answer, but what stuck out to me is Nico bringing up Irvin Torres specifically in terms of names that could be kind of next in line for that. Talked about him being 17, and it hinted at him being a first team player down the road, which of course is not that's something we all expect. But I think this is the first time that I've heard Estevez really just flat out allude to Irvin being a first team guy down the road. And right. So even though we expect that and we know they kind of look at him in that light, I just felt like it was interesting that he came out and said that right away. That's what you want to hear rather than him being Irvin, is maybe further away, whatever. Yeah. I just thought it did stick out to me listening to him talk last night. So we did have Irvin and Micah starting once again for the second team, again, hosting winless Sporting KC2 on Friday evening out there at the pitch. Daniel Chesla was in for Anthony Deanda at left back. So we know Anthony can be a little bit of a hothead and picks up cards from time to time. I don't know if he was suspended. I don't remember seeing an injury, so it'd be interesting to find out what happened to Deanda. But Chesla was in there with Riley Thomas on the right side, Van Ryn and Tony Gomez at center back. Ruben Bonachera was active on the bench, although he ultimately did not get on the field. We had Alistue once again up top with Peter Grogan on the bench. Jimmy, back from his hamstring injury, got the start. And, of course, no CJ, which was expected after we saw the Mirtu Azuni questionable tag. Yeah. So no huge surprises here, and very good to see Jimmy and Ruben back active for this side.
Yep, and Alistue up there taking over Grogan's job, man, and pays dividends here. This was just looking at the stats, the quick little overview here. You beat this team's butt, which was what you're supposed to do because yes, they are not good.
Yeah, I was able to luckily watch this match. I've missed a couple here this year where we've had to just rely on the 15-minute recaps that they put out there. But this first half, man, Austin completely dominated, both to the eye test if you're watching the match, if you just look at the first half stats alone, but couldn't find the back of the net in the first 45. And that made me, again, as high as my tensions can get for our second team. Mm-hmm. I was a little tight at half because it's just the recipe for another letdown against this team that you should absolutely beat at home. I was happy to see that Jimmy, the hamstring didn't seem to be hampering him all that much. He was definitely the most dangerous attacking player in the first half, both with his passing, setting up his teammates, and his aggression, looking for his own shot. And there's no changes at the half, but 51st minute here. I missed. Sporting did make a sub actually here, and that sub did pick up a yellow card 4 minutes into the half. No changes for Austin. But following that sub, or that yellow card rather, Austin applying some high pressure, forces Courtcamp, the Sporting goalkeeper, to clear it out for a throw. And Austin has great patience here, working it right to left and then back again. Riley Thomas slips it into Irvin Torres near the top corner of the 18, and he one-touches it right through to Jimmy, making a run towards the inline. Jimmy fires across towards the penalty spot, right to the foot of Jorge Alistue, who made this slick, I don't know if he's right-footed or left-footed, but as a righty, if I was coming up to this chance here, I'm just trying to sweep it in with my right foot. He kind of opens up and taps it to the far, towards the far post with his left. And I thought that was a really slick, just one-time finish there to open up his hips and maybe send the keeper the wrong way. Puts it in the back of the net. And again, that goal was coming, but to that point, we had missed some big chances. You can see 3 created on the night. We missed 2 of them. I think the other 2 were in the first half. But another goal for Jorge. And, man, he has been a great acquisition. And again, I think we said it very speculatively after the first match or two. before he, because he missed a couple games earlier in the season. But like just watching him out there on the pitch, he looked like a guy that if you get a green card, could be a supplemental roster player in the future. And we know like he's got the background, right? He came from La Masia, right? He came from the Barcelona Academy and playing for their youth team. So it's been good to have him because we're not scoring a ton, but he gets one here, and that ends up being the difference.
I mean, he was a great find. He took the words right out of my mouth there. What's he sitting on? Like 5 goal contributions now? Yeah, 5 goal contributions in 825 minutes. He's been great. And we've moved him around a little bit, and it seems like he's really kind of finding his niche here right up at the striker position, attacking. Great, like you said, for Jimmy to be looking good. Love to see that for him. And I just think, we were a better team, and now you're sitting pretty nice on that table. You got some games in hand on a couple of these teams still, not the same gap that we had before, but you're moving up and you're stringing together some results here, and you love to see that for these guys.
Yeah, and he does put another one into the back of the net in the 62nd minute, but flag goes up for offside. And after that flag went up, we get Abarca and Grogan in for Jimmy and Adrian Gonzalez, which moved Jorge back into the midfield. Jules Barry comes on at left back for Daniel Chesla in the 85th minute. So I'm pretty sure that's his first appearance for Austin FC 2. So hopefully he can get in a little bit more over the coming games, and we can see what Jules Barry has to offer. And a minute later, man, there is a huge dust up in front of the Austin bench. Dirty tackle by the Sporting player, and only a yellow card given. We have seen it was a very Guilherme Biro-esque on Ricky Pooch type of tackle where the bench just almost clears. Coach is furious. And I thought there could have been a red card given there because there was contact made contrary to what happened with the Biro and Pooch tackle last season. And then we get Chris Avila in for Micah Burton in the 90th minute and the final whistle blows. But I mean, dude, Ruben Bonachera was almost coming over the boards on the sideline to get at the Sporting player. Yeah, I mean, it was a dirty tackle, and I was in agreement with the entire bench there, the entire sideline. It probably should have been an ejection.
Damn. Well, that's I like they got Pulse Camp too at Sporting KC,
Pulse
right?
Camp and Court Camp.
Pulse Camp and Court Camp. I was like,
yeah. So I mean, you double them up on shots, 3 shots to none on target, and again, the 2 big chances created. We missed both, so I guess they don't give Jorge and Jimmy big chance credit there. But either way, like statistically, this is what you expected to see, something similar to this, and you get the 3 points. So you check out the table right now. Again, still imbalanced in terms of the number of games played, but every team above Austin in this Western Conference table has played at least the same 14 games that we have, or they've played more, right? All the teams that have games in hand on us are behind us in the standings, and as things sit now, Austin FC 2 tied for 6th in the Western Conference. Again, it is the top 8 teams that make the MLS Next Pro playoffs from each conference. So tied for 6th. We're in 7th on tiebreaker, 1 less win than Whitecaps 2. But sitting here, man, what?
Yeah.
We won the penalty shootout, I believe, against the Timbers. So that is 8 points from our last 3 matches. It is a great run of form here by Austin FC 2, kicked off by the road victory over North Texas, which was huge, right? North Texas sitting up there in 4th. So we've kind of, for the time being, righted the ship here a little bit for the second team. So LAFC 2 comes to town. This is actually a 4th of July evening match out there at the pitch. So we'll preview that match on Wednesday's episode, but you look a little bit ahead. You host LAFC 2, you host St. Louis City 2, which I think they're in 1st right now. So that is a huge match coming up in July. You go to Real Monarchs up there in Utah, and then you got Dynados coming. So like these 4 matches in July could really catapult you into like threatening for a top 4 position. And that is about as good of a spot, I think, as we could ask this team to be in from where we were coming into the month of June. Kind of similar to the first team. It's like when you look back on the month as a whole, easy to say this is a great month for the second team, the way they've been playing. But I think just kind of bleeding back into first team thoughts, I think most of us would have taken 6 points at the start of June for the first team.
Yes, I'm right there with you. This Austin FC 2 team has definitely figured some things out, and they're getting the ball rolling here now. And again, I don't know if he's a great motivational speaker or he's just really won over the guys, but Charlie Farrar in the net, man, has been huge. It's wild. So more power to these boys. Good job taking care of a team that you should beat. You still got to go out there and get it done. And like you said, you had this game coming up here versus LAFC too. Chance to string together some more points. You'd love to see it.
All right, so we close out episode 236 with a little bit of the nonsense here, E, and talking about the picks first. In the midweek, the underdog entry did not come through, but on the back of a lot of goal-scoring props, we gained 7.41 units in the midweek. So coming into the weekend, we were just slightly north of 50 units to the good combined between the books and underdog. The underdog entry crashes and burns over the weekend. So we look to pick ourselves back up, dust ourselves off next Saturday. And then at the books, it was a close one, but we end up losing 3 units on the night. All 4 of our main picks go to shit. And then the goal scorers do their best to buoy that number because we got goals from Yeboah, Evander, Pasalic, Musa, but nothing else comes through for us. So we lose 3 units on the week here, E. So going into week 22 of the bets next Saturday, we are plus 18.98 units on underdog and plus 27.19 at the books. And that feels pretty good. And again, if you want to jump in on some of this action with us, especially at Underdog Fantasy, you can sign up using our promo code. The MLS season is here. If you want to make some picks on your favorite players in sports, check out Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em game. You choose higher or lower on between 2 to 8 players, and you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. Underdog is available in 33 states, including right here in Texas. To sign up, click the link in the description of this video and use promo code NORTHEND at sign up, and you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick to get you started. So join the millions of fans who have won billions on Underdog. Promo code NORTHEND at sign up when you go to sign up at Underdog. The link to sign up is in the description of this episode. Whether you're watching on the YouTube or just listening to the audio version, click that link. Promo code NORTHEND at sign up. You get your free cash. You get your free pick. And then you come over to the northendpodcast.com next Saturday to see what we are rolling with on the match day next weekend. One note on that, there is a game on Thursday. There are games on the 4th on Friday. Still a main slate there, MLS-wise, on Saturday. But just for the sickos out there, you got Thursday and Friday MLS action coming up next weekend. Ian will close out the nonsense portion of episode 236. Oh, boy. Big performance by the North End Podcast. New season high for the Verde Best Ball League E. We come up 2 points shy of the record set by Verde all day last season with a 75 points for the North End Podcast. E, and I will point out, keepers.
Point it out.
No keepers.
None.
So if we had an Austin game or if Andre Blake was back in the States, we may have set that record, but we will take the 75 points that catapults us up into second place. 44 from We Are Austin, so they still have a 20-point lead on us. Verde all day, 40 points, just 5 points behind us. You put 35 points between us and Soccer-wise, we feel good about that. Moon Tower and Verde Pendant dropped some points there, so a little bit of a struggle there at the bottom of the standings. But we are right back in the mix. And, we start to get loud, and that usually leads to a best ball letdown. So we'll see how these scores shake out after the Sunday night games here for the weekend's matches. Ian, we'll get another best ball update on Wednesday's episode.
Let's go, man. That's a huge week.
Anything else for you here before we shut it down?
Nope. Ready to be back at the queue, playing this LA team, taking care of business, rebounding, responding. A lot of words. Got them all. Undisappointed.
Oh, all right. The disappointment's already lifted? Got your disappointment therapy session in?
It's out.
Oh, man. All right, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 236 of the North End Podcast. We will be back on Wednesday previewing Austin FC's home match against LAFC, previewing the second team's match against LAFC 2 on Friday out there at the pitch, and of course, talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Be on the lookout for Green Smoke. You know what comes along with that. Maybe we'll see you on a live stream this week. But enjoy the beginning of your weeks, everybody, and we will do the same. And we'll see you back here on Wednesday for our regularly scheduled episode. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.